We're back again. I hope you guys can find us.
We'll try this again.
I'm sorry, things got just crazy for a minute there. Put a little notice up.
Technology is great, except when it doesn't work. Well, hello to YouTube people.
Hello, busy little house. It's good to see you.
If you're just coming in and we're not buffering, please let us know, because we don't have anything else running right now, so this should be working. So I'm thinking it's not on our end, but who knows? What you doing, Kareem?
Okay, Lisa Clark made it back. Hi. Busy little house looks and sounds great. Thank you. Eli, you made it back. Good. I don't know what caused it all of a sudden to start buffering. It just went bonkers.
We weren't but a couple
Busy
of
little
minutes
house.
in.
I'm really glad to see you too. It's been a long while. What, love?
I said we weren't on for more than just 3 or 4
Just a
minutes
few
before it
seconds.
started to crap out again.
Yep.
Now, this morning or today, this is the time of year everybody starts thinking about their family traditions and, what we're grateful for and what our blessings are. That seems to be that we just have to have a certain time of the year to do that. So we thought we'd just kind of ask whether folks have certain traditions or customs that seem to get handed down from generation to generation or from one family member to another, and maybe even some things that you've just started for your own family, just first generation. I know growing up for me, we really didn't have any. I was kind of an only child, and being in the military, we moved around a lot, so there weren't very many traditions that we ever followed.
Thank you, Eli.
So I don't know what y'all might have, but
Mark, hi.
And Kate and I don't have too many that we've built ourselves.
Not really, not yet.
But
mostly it's just going to dinner with Mom and Tom.
Yeah,
my mom and stepdad.
I think the customs that you build are a lot more important if you've got kids, because you're trying to instill in them some appreciation for what Thanksgiving and Christmas are really about, rather than just the commercialism, I guess. Which this is not my favorite time of the year. I really dislike this part of the year. I get tired of being hammered by buy, spend, give, and it just drives me nuts.
Busy little house. I'm glad to know you keep Hanukkah. Excuse me. I tend during this time of the season to light the house more with candles than I do at any other time. I do not follow that particular religion, but I love the traditions it has. Welcome back, Lisa, and Happy.
I can understand the health issues certainly do cut into how much you can celebrate any given holiday. That's for sure.
Lisa Clark says at this point in her life and all her health issues, every day is Thanksgiving.
Hello,
she's
single man.
Staying home
Welcome.
And relaxing, and she'll try to make some things, but it's hard without being with family.
It is. Yep.
Welcome back, Texas Life. I
Hi
hope
there.
You're not just spinning still.
Looks like we're okay this time. Everybody's rolling, and we got 8 folks with us.
Hello, Ray. It's good to see you here. How's the weather in your part of the world, Ray? Is it rainy today?
Good. Now we're broadcasting well now.
I'm sorry?
Texas Life tells us it looks good now, so I guess we're broadcasting properly. That's
Excellent.
good.
Thank you. Homestead Remembrance, it's good to see you. Welcome.
Lisa, yeah, he's a beautiful bird. This when we first went live, they were still in their cage. So I went over to let them out, and I figured, okay, they'll just migrate to the top of their cage and stay there. No. Kareem cut a trail for the floor and beat me in here and was climbing up the back of the chair. He seems to understand these Sunday morning gatherings now, and he wants to be in here and on camera and with y'all. And I mean, he was in here before I was. and was squawking to come in. He was hollering too. So
Hi, Bonnie. Welcome
hello,
from
John.
Florida.
Love you too, John. And things are well.
Thank you, Happy.
Pretty darn good, actually. I mean, all things considered. I've got a short story to tell about another blessing that I've received, but
Hi, Iron Fire Horse. Sorry.
I'll wait for just a little bit to tell that story.
I just have to greet everybody when they come in. I'm sorry I interrupt.
That's okay. What are you looking at?
This is something I'm giving thanks for today, and that is cherry juice. As you all know, I've had a lot of problems with my gout since my doctor's been trying to change my medicine. We thought we had it cleaned up and was doing better. And this morning it flared again. So I'm back to drinking cherry juice, which tends to make it better. So Iron Fire.
Christmas cake on the 3rd of January.
This is not candy. This
matures and it's
curry.
Really rich by Yuletide.
What is it?
Mark Donnie McLeod makes a Christmas cake on the 3rd of January, so it matures and it really gets rich by Yule.
Yes, I heard them talking about it. It's kind of like a fruit cake.
Fruit cake? Okay.
A rum fruit cake or something like that.
Oh, okay.
It sounds good. Cranberry is also good. Yeah, I agree, single man, but the cranberry tends to upset my stomach. It's a little too acidic.
This is Karib, by the way. He's my old curmudgeon.
This is the oldest of our three. He's in his mid to late 20s.
Yeah, he's the first one I got when I was over in Tallahassee. And he's
good boy.
He's got a lot of personality, but he's also pretty cantankerous, and he gets moody sometimes, don't you? Yeah, you do.
Thank you.
Last week he kept pecking me on the head, and he got put away. So we'll see. But he gets kind of irritated pretty easy.
Boy, he's getting some loving this morning.
Yeah, he is pretty. You'll notice he's got some bare spots on him. It's
Hi, Celtic.
There's just he plucks a little bit, but that's from an injury from years ago, where he got an infected feather, and then we had to had surgery on it. And since then, it's just been kind of an area that he picks at. Nothing much we can do for it.
Mark says there are no booze in his cake at all, but he uses a dark cherry reduction instead.
Oh, okay.
Sounds wonderful.
Where are you headed there, big guy? Where are you going? What do you want? You think you want to go down there?
How are you, sweet Celtic? It's good to see you.
Where are you going? Huh? Where do you want to go? You out there?
I think he wants to get down on the table and see what's going on.
He likes to. What do you want to do? What? Yeah.
I had to give up alcohol too, Mark, but mine was because I lost a kidney to cancer treatments 10 years ago. The kidney was not cancerous, but they didn't know it until they removed it. So, oh, listen, busy little house. This bird has made some of the most beautiful tail feathers you would ever want to see. The longest one's over 24 inches long.
Yep.
They are just gorgeous.
And he is a camera hog, aren't you?
Where are you going?
Yeah, you're a camera hog. I'm just so pretty. Everybody's got to see me. It's all about Karib.
Kate, I don't know if you do essential oils, but the book I have indicates that lemon, geranium, and deep blue, wintergreen, and thyme can be used in conjunction. Texas Life, I don't, but I have been investigating it a little bit. Let me write that down because I will get those and try. Lemon and geranium.
Oh, cool. I'd like to see that, Mark.
Deep blue, wintergreen, and thyme.
Arg you too.
And do you infuse the oils or do you rub them on? How do you use them?
Iron Horse, that's unfortunately, even birds sometimes require surgery. That's very true.
Says, do we clip their feathers?
That surgery cost me over $1,000 too, by the way.
We don't clip their feathers. They
Not
stay
anymore.
inside. They don't fly. So
I used to.
I mean, they can, but they don't fly anymore.
Yeah. When I had them out on, when I was doing outreach and stuff back in Tallahassee, yes, I trimmed their wing feathers. But nowadays they're indoors all the time, so I let them go. Yeah,
Mark, I'm going to look for that.
I
I subscribed to your channel earlier
Good
today,
boy. Big kiss.
and from Liz's, and I want to check that one out. That looks very interesting.
Well,
Stringfield Ridge, hello, welcome. It's been a while since I've seen you. Excuse me, honey.
That's all right. You just like seeing yourself on screen, don't you?
He does. He loves it.
Yeah.
Amy Fuel wrote a great book on natural healing herbs. Amy Fuel.
Well, being a nurse, iron fire horse, he probably thought he could save the day, but I'm an old veterinary technician. I did that for very much of my military career. So when I see things that get beyond my skills to either diagnose or treat, I do run to the vet. And this was an avian veterinarian that I trusted implicitly. So I didn't drag my feet. Yeah, did I? Hmm? Yeah. I designed a cone for his neck on my own that the ones the vets gave me, just, kind of like the cone of shame, did not work. So I ended up making, I guess what you'd call kind of a ball cone. And I designed it myself and cut it out of some foam and then put it on him. And that's how we kept him from messing with it. But over time, he just kept fiddling with it and finally plucked out the feathers so they wouldn't come back to that point. And that's where we're at now. And it doesn't really get any worse. It doesn't get any better. So it just kind of stays where it is. Yeah, you just think you're cool, don't you?
He is a beautiful bird. And before he had the problem with his neck, he was just striking. He was
stunning.
Typical pirate's bird.
He was stunning. Still is, but.
And he can be a delight, but other times he can get in a bad mood and be a real pain. But they all do that. Don't you?
Well, emotionally, they have the range of about a 3-year-old. And so they can get moody. They can, throw temper tantrums, which they certainly do. And they can also be very loving and gentle and kind and pretty cool. Yeah.
Thank you, Texas Life.
Mm-hmm. You my big boy. Yes, you are. You my big guy. But he'll get tired of it here in a bit, and he'll probably want to go back on his cage. Maybe. Anyway, the blessing that I wanted to talk about today is, as some of you may know, I recently acquired an electric wheelchair from a fellow veteran up around Fort Worth, a gentleman named Tim Turner. And he brought it down and actually delivered it to me. And I've been using it around the house. And we have a ramp that goes from our laundry room down into the garage and then outside. But it's very tight, quite small and narrow. And it's a bear to navigate, basically. And the only entry or egress point that we have really from the house is our front door. And
with some very deep steps.
Yeah. And there's like 4 steps down to the sidewalk. And I knew that, sooner or later I'm going to need a ramp there. Well, another friend of ours who, gosh, how do you describe their kindnesses to us? I don't know.
This man has been a blessing from the moment I reconnected with him.
Yep. Jim Twinter it lives just down the road from us. And actually, when Kate was still with AT&T, they didn't work together, but they were in the same company and kind of
same
knew
building.
each other. And so anyway, to make a short story even longer, Jim and his wife Jerry and another fellow named Billy came over yesterday, and they built me a wheelchair ramp from my front porch all the way out to my driveway. And it's done. It's
Bobby,
got
not Billy.
Bobby. Okay, Bobby, sorry. So they've still got to put some handrails on it and maybe do a little cleaning up, but the ramp is there. It's functional.
And they're going to make
And
steps
I've,
to go down to the yard on both sides for me because I have yard on both sides.
yeah, and so, and it was all made out of reclaimed lumber. So essentially the cost of materials is nothing. And they do this out of the goodness of their hearts. They probably won't take any money for it. So I've decided that Kate and I are going to make a donation to some charity or cause that they like that hopefully would be about what it would have cost us to have that ramp put in.
Right.
That's about the best way I can think of to pay that particular blessing forward. But it's amazing the things that have come to us and the things that have been provided for me because of my advancing disability. First, the chair, and now a ramp that allows me much easier access out to my front yard. Well, the whole property. So it's just it continues to amaze me, the kindness and generosity of people around us. This little town of Cibolo, where we live, is really a great little town. It's just
Lisa
great.
says God takes care of his own.
Well, that's true, but I guess in some way that I can't deny that. I mean, I was telling Jim yesterday, I said, okay, I've done some kindnesses in my life. I've helped some people out. I've done some things that I'd like to think assisted others, and I really had no desire or intent to get anything back for it. What? So somehow those things are all kind of coming back and in very dramatic ways. And you can call it karma, whatever you want. I just call it a blessing and say thank you, God. Yep.
Hello, Ron. It's nice to see you.
Hi, Mark.
Ron Neitzel.
Yes, I do intend to pay it forward, single man. That's all I can do. All I can do.
And give thanks and share the blessings with everyone who will listen.
Don't you get tough with me. You better be nice. You will not last out here 5 minutes if you get ornery. See, these guys can bust up 2x4s with these beaks, make toothpicks out of them. I've got the scars to prove it. So when they get a little bit irritated, they just kind of give you a little bit more strength in their bite. And he can cut me to the bone anytime he wants to. So
yes, he can.
Thing is, I guess he chooses not to most of the time, but every now and then, if I'm not paying attention, he'll nail me. If I look away, if I'm not giving him what he thinks he deserves, he will try to nail me, whether it's through the bars or come down off the cage to get me. He's got his own little, he's very possessive. Maybe that's a good word for it. If I'm not paying attention to him the way he wants, he'll just nail me for all he's worth. Yeah, he's just pretty ornery. Like I've said, he's my old curmudgeon. Yeah.
Ron, do you pronounce your last name Neitzel or Netzel? N-E-T Netzel or N-E-I-T Neitzel?
He might have a little trouble telling you.
That's why I said N-E-T or N-E-I-T. You're right, Happy. It can be extremely painful. It truly can.
Yeah. Yeah, but that man likes to give kisses too, don't you? Yeah, good boy. Oh, yes, they can be painful, that's for sure. That's I've got scars all over me from that. All over.
Yeah, we do. Oh, he is Neitzel. I was right. Thank you.
A horse that acts like your bird. I heard that too. Horses they're a handful as well.
You write down your email, sweetie.
Yeah. What?
Gmail.
Oh, gonna be a big bad bird? Huh? You're gonna be a big bad bird. See how he gets his head all puffed up? See those feathers coming up? Now he's irritated with me. Yeah, yeah. Now he wants to bite me. Yeah, he wants to bite me.
I will email you after the chat. Iron Fire Horse.
You see yourself doing that, don't you? Hard. You're a good boy. Yeah, you are. You're a good bird.
Peekaboo.
I think the peekaboo. Can you move that over just a little bit, and I'll bring him over more, a little bit more towards the center. If he's going to be here, he might as well be on camera.
There you go.
There you go. How's that?
I think he wants to play with the keyboard.
More than likely. Given half a chance, he would. Wouldn't you? Yeah. You're my big guy. You're my big guy. Yeah, you are. Yeah, he's a big fella. Yeah, he's a big boy.
Well, we've got 18 watching and only 14 thumbs up.
Gonna get me?
Are you in a bad mood?
You're gonna lunge at me? Huh?
Are you being angry?
Oh, what? What? Tough guy.
Are you being a mean, angry boy?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, you are, aren't you? Will you be angry to Mama?
Big bad bird.
Will you be angry to Mama? Good boy.
No, he loves you. Yeah, he does. That's it. Go on. Ouch. Shit. Yeah, going back to your cage. You can do it.
Happy, take care. Thank you for joining us while you could.
Well, he wore out his welcome.
He was ready to go back.
Apparently.
Or at least ready to get off your arm.
Yeah.
Single Man says, nothing wrong with spoiling your animals, friends. I share my 500 square foot with a 100-pound service dog. My word. What have you got for a service dog, Eli?
A big one.
That's true. Is it a Pyrenees or something else? And I agree. We have many pets or animals, and they are all spoiled.
You know, it didn't break the skin, but that hurts. When they pinch like that, it just really can be pretty painful.
3-year-old Roddy.
Oh, wow. Rottweiler. Okay, cool. Love
I
those.
didn't realize Rottweilers got that big.
Some of them can. They get 80 to 100 pounds.
We have 1 dog, 1 cat, 3 birds, 3 fish, and 2 people. So there's 10 of us, but we got 3,100 square foot house. So we got room. Do we garden much? Dave doesn't garden at all. And I do garden, but I garden in pots because I'm not able to go out into my garden anymore.
Me, I can kill dirt. So.
Hello, UK. Here we go. It's good to see you.
Yeah, Irish Wolfhounds, as I recall, they seem to have some genetic problems that kind of contribute to a short lifespan, if I remember right. Like I said, I was an old veterinary technician for years. But
wow,
Irish Wolf, they're so big too, and they're built kind of oddly. They're a racing animal, or they were originally, I think. A Roddy Lab. Now that's an interesting mix. Huh.
Ron, several years ago when we bought this property, we hired a young man who set up a beautiful garden for me. It's about 50 feet long and about 250 feet deep and about 200 feet long. It's one whole end of our backyard. And it was set up beautifully, and I grew things in about half of it that first year. We got some wonderful, wonderful food out of that garden. The next year, my health had declined so much that I couldn't garden anymore.
Back again.
And now I'm gardening in 5-gallon buckets, and I'm getting good food.
No.
But not nearly what I wanted. Not enough of it. So let's see.
Back in there. Oh, you can
Kimmy Del Rey, hello and welcome. It's good to see you. And Bonnie, you're back again.
Don't you be hitting that.
6-month-old lab will be about 100 pounds when he's
Leave that alone.
Wow, 100
You don't
pounds.
chew on power cords.
That just amazes me. 100. What? Then I shouldn't. My best friend had a rescued greyhound, and she was really big, and would have, if they'd let her, she would have gotten pretty heavily overweight. What is he going after over there?
He was going after the power cord.
Oh, that we don't need.
I don't need that. I'm going to lock him up, and I'll be right back.
All righty. Texas Life, I love cats too. I really do.
You're being a problem, Creed.
When Dave and I met, he had a little dog named Luna that was half Chihuahua and half who knows. And Luna was a very special dog. She was about, 5 at the time, I guess, maybe 6. Very well trained, had a wonderful personality. And I became somewhat of a dog lover because of Luna. Now, when we moved out here, the year after we moved out here, she went outside to do her business one evening. and apparently stumbled upon a rattlesnake, and it got her. And Dave was out looking for her. He came upon her. She was still warm, but she was dead. And it just broke both of our hearts. And it's taken us a long time, but last year we got another dog. And unfortunately for me, this dog was not Luna. Of course, I knew in my head he was not Luna, but I expected him to act like Luna, even though I knew he wouldn't. And it took a long time for me to learn to love this dog on his own terms. He's a very different kind of dog. He's very young, he's very full of energy and that kind of thing. But I'm beginning to really love him. And he's so spoiled, he sleeps on my side of the bed. So, and if I sit down in the living room to relax or watch TV, he thinks he has to be in my lap. So I think he thinks he's my dog, and I'm sort of getting used to that. So we like him. And then, of course, my cat is in my lap all the time. Ron, are you talking to me about um, emailing? Okay, I'll get to you as well after the live stream. Iron Fire Horse, all of our animals are rescues. And you might try going down to the local ASPCA. There may be just the perfect dog for you there. So try that and see what you can come up with. Busy Little House says, my old horse was born the same time as me and died at 33.4 years ago. I was so heartbroken. It was as if I had lost a family member. I reap what you sow. Hello, welcome. I'm glad to see you. And you too, Heaven's Essential. Busy Little House, I agree with you. When you lose a companion animal that has been with you as long as that, it is like losing a family member. They do become like a family member, and it's just heartbreaking when you lose them. I'm really sorry that you had to go through that, but I'm glad that you had the wonderful time with your horse that you did. I'm sure you've got lots of marvelous memories at that horse. Let's see, Stringfield Farm is welcoming. Iron Fire Horse, that sounds like Finehorn in Scotland. I used to grow big things too. Let's see, Mark says she had a Japanese Akita that died young, a very big ball of fluff, 112 pounds and strong as an ox, but heart problems. That's sad. We had a beautiful shepherd when I was growing up, a German shepherd. It was 110 pounds, and he was, my dad used him in his police work, and he died young because of heartworms. So heart problems with dogs are just heartbreaking, so to speak. Let's see. Valeria, welcome. I'm glad you came in here. Rochelle, welcome. I'm glad that you came to this chat. Let's see who else is coming in here. Iron 4. If I could choose, I would choose a shepherd, Kate. I tell you what, German shepherds have a very, very big part in my heart. Like I said, my dad had one he used in his police work. That dog had been trained by the Air Force to be a working dog and had washed out in the last week of training because of something called hip dysplasia. The Air Force normally destroys the dogs when that happens, but the commander of the base knew that Dad was looking for a dog to be used as a working dog, and he allowed Dad to have him rather than put the dog to sleep. And the dog was wonderful. He was very well trained. If he had his working collar on, he was working, and he knew it. The rest of the time, he was a big lap baby, and you didn't let him in. You didn't not let him in the house when there was a storm coming, because he was frightened to pieces of thunder. And when we would get him in the house and the thunder and lightning would start, he would literally curl up in my lap on the couch and shiver and whine until it was over. He was a big baby. And they told us when they brought him home, don't let anyone near him, keep him in his run because he will eat you up. His run just happened to be outside my bedroom window. My bed was by the window. So at night, for the first 2 or 3 weeks he was there, I would talk to him before I went to sleep. And before he knew it, I could go out into his run and talk to him and play with him and take him all over the yard, and there was no problem. And after that, he just became our baby. So you love German Shepherds too, Heaven's Essential? They're wonderful, wonderful animals. New pup just turned a year, super smart, blue heeler border collie. Oh, border collies are another really good dog. I have some good memories of a border collie my mom had for a while. Reap what you sow. Not only the one had two lose, something got them. Ooh, that's terrible. Single man, ouch. I retire my service dogs between 7 and 9 years. I couldn't take putting one down. I can believe that. What do you do when you retire them? Do they go to a home where they just become a pet? Eli, I'm not sure I could do that either, to be honest. Iron Fire Horse, I lived with a close friend who had one called Puka. When she died, he got another one called her Puka too. That's cute. Shepherds do have worries with the back end, and hips can be their problem. Yes, every German Shepherd we had when I was growing up ended up eventually having either spine or hip problems. The dachshunds that my mom had when I was a preteen also ended up having a lot of bad spine problems because they were so long, their spine would separate or pop out of joint or whatever you call it. I'm not sure exactly what the medical term was, but that would cause them problems too. So poor babies, dogs just have problems. Heaven's Essential grew up with a coyote shepherd mix that was awesome. My dad had one of those. He lived out in the country on a ranch in South Texas, and the neighbors kept seeing this beautiful dog slash coyote or wolf, I'm not sure which. And they kept thinking that it was a wild one and tried to kill her. So he ended up having to train her to stay on their property because otherwise people were trying to kill her thinking she was wild. Donate them to children's hospitals. Eli, that's a wonderful idea. That's a marvelous idea. That way the kids and the dog get joy from it. Carrie L., I'm so glad you made it to a live stream. It's wonderful to see you here, dear heart. Mark said, I saw on a local TV news that some hospitals and homes for the elderly residents have dogs and cats visit to give them comfort to lonely people. Mark, here in the state of Texas, there is a large group who do that. People bring their pet animals to nursing homes as long as they have the right kind of insurance. And they will take the animals from room to those residents who like dogs and cats, take them room to room and let them visit with the people who live there. Oh my goodness. Celtic, I'm sorry. He said, talk about pets. He lost 3 in 1 month. Oh, I'm so sorry, Celtic. That's terrible. Oh, goodness. Anyway, I was going to tell you, David used to take Carib and Bravo on what they called outreaches. He'd taken them to nursing homes and places like that. And you don't think too much of people in nursing homes being attracted to large birds because only 7% of the population of the U.S. have birds at all. And only 7% of that have big birds. But he used to take the 2 big ones to the nursing homes, and he got wonderful responses, didn't you?
The best one that I ever got was we went to this nursing home, and everybody oohs and ahs over them, of course, and these are usually held in like the common area where everybody comes and spends their time. And there was this one gentleman who was just sitting there on the couch, and he was by himself, and there was a seat beside him. So Karib and I went over and we just sat down next to him, and I was just going to show him the bird. And he started telling me about a bird that he had when he was a kid. And I got the impression that it was probably a cockatiel or some other small bird. And we sat there for probably 20 minutes. And at that point, they were okay to touch and everything else. And I was comfortable with that. And he touched Kareem, and he actually stood on his arm. I put a little towel over his arm because when you're that old, the skin's very friable and their talons can actually break your skin. So anyway, he held the bird and talked to him and everything else for, like I said, 20 minutes. As we were leaving, one of the nursing staff came over to me, and she literally had tears running down her face. And she said, that gentleman that you were sitting with hasn't spoken to anybody in 2 years. Not a word. And it was just, that was a pretty profound moment, I have to admit. That having Kareem there opened this man up. And he and I sat there and chatted for quite some time. And he very emotionally told me about this bird that he had when he was a kid. And we just started talking about various things. And he had a really, really nice time just talking to Kareem, talking to me and everything else. And then come to find out that this guy, like I said, he hadn't spoken to anybody in that entire place in 2 years.
Hi, Homestead Remembrance.
So that was a memorable moment of my outreach.
Yeah. Like I said, you don't expect, even if you're a bird person, which obviously we are, you don't expect for the birds to have that kind of an impact. And when you see them have an impact like that, it really touches your heart. It really does.
I'll tell you what, they also have a very acute sense of what I'll call a black soul. There were times in Tallahassee they have a big annual parade and gathering, and we used to take Kareem and Bravo to that. And there were thousands of people there. I mean, they'd get 100,000 people in town for this thing. And we'd have a booth set up for our bird club. And of course, I'd generally be out in the front line because everybody goes for the big birds. But every now and then somebody would come walking by, and Kareem and Bravo would both just lock onto this. I'll call it a guy because it has been women too, but they'd lock onto this guy, and all their feathers would just stand up. I mean, in a mad head, what we call, and they would just track this guy as he went by and watch him and not take their eyes off of him. And if that person happened to come over toward us, there was no way that I was going to let that person even try to get closer or to touch either one of my guys, because my opinion is birds can see in light ranges that we can't. They can see into the infrared and also the ultraviolet. And I also believe that we humans have an aura that we project. I mean, light bounces off of us, so obviously we have an aura. And there are people that have really, really bad auras. And that's what I feel that Kareem and Bravo can see. Now they say dogs can sense it. Well, I've known that for years. But people don't understand that big, smart birds can also detect that. And they understand good people versus bad people. And you start thinking when you see somebody going by like that, says, I wonder who he's got buried in his cellar, because they just, whew.
When I first met Kareem and Bravo, they had them both for many years at that point. And these guys
I
are
heard
large
that, Single Man.
birds.
Yep. Single Man said if his dog doesn't like a person, they don't come back.
Right.
That's entirely true. I trust dogs implicitly.
Anyway, he took me into the room where they were to introduce me to them, and they were in their cages. And I walked up to watch them and look at them and see what they were going to do. And both of them independently struck at me like they were going to bite me. Now, that is apparently a macaw lunge, is what they call it.
Yeah, they do.
And they do that to try and establish dominance over whatever. If you jump back or react like you're frightened, these two laugh and know they have the upper hand.
They still do it to me. I mean, even now. I mean,
they do to me once in a while, not as often.
And but if you're meeting someone new, if the guys are meeting someone new or they're coming up to their stand or cage, one of the first things they'll do is, people want to go up and kind of get close to them. And Kareem especially will literally come running at you. And I mean, beak wide open. And this is a dangerous beak. I mean, These guys, at the tip of their beak, they can generate 1,500 pounds per square inch of pressure. Now, that literally is enough to shred a bone or a piece of wood, whatever. But their intent isn't to bite. It's the intent is to find out who's in charge here, you or me. Because if you back up or just really act scared or whatever, then they know right then that they're in control. So anyway, animals bringing out verbal skills in children with autism. I've read about that. Iron Fire Horse. I think it's great. I really think that's wonderful. Okay, let's see. Carrie, you get on with one of the cats next door. And after one of my hens passed on after a fox, the following the cat jumped in my lap and cuddled me. Wow. I believe some of the animals that we keep as pets also have a great deal of empathy. They do. They feel our moods. I'll tell you a quick story about Caribbean Bravo. The job I had before I retired over in Florida was I worked for the Commission on Disabilities, and we had an intake. Pardon me?
I've told them a little about it.
Okay. Anyway, I spoke to people that were in some of the most miserable conditions and states and circumstances that you can possibly imagine. This was a helpline for those with disabilities. And I would take some absolutely awful calls all day. And I lived about 12 miles from where I worked. And my habit on my driving home was I would imagine that all of those calls and everything were just kind of going out the window as I drove home. But there were days whenever I would get home, and I was alone, there were days when I'd get home and I'd walk into the bird room to let Cream Bravo out, and they would come rushing up to me and want to get on my arm, want to get on the cage, want to interact with me. But there were other days when I would come home when they would retreat to the back of the cage, be hanging on the bars in the back, didn't want to have anything to do with me, would strike at me if I reached in to take them out, and just were basically telling me, not right now, buddy. So I'd go off, leave them alone, leave the cages open, and they'd come out on their own. And later on, I'd go in and everything would be fine. Well, I finally figured out that what I was doing was when I was bringing home the anxiety and emotion that I dealt with at work, they could sense that and they would react to that. If I managed to kind of get myself cleansed on the way home, then everything was cool. But if I was bringing in burdens and still had things on my mind about the people that I'd spoken with that day, they would react to that very unfavorably. So, which obviously reinforced me trying to unload on the way home before I got there, and it affected my birds. But okay, Carrie.
Back to my
sorry.
Story.
Go ahead. I didn't realize you were in the story, sweetheart.
Yes, I
sorry.
was telling them about my first meeting with the two guys.
Oh, okay.
So I stepped into the room to meet them, and they both came at me, beaks open, ready to strike, and struck. I don't know why, but I did not react at all. I didn't jump back. I might have blinked my eyes. But
it was a gutsy stand because they did. She's right. They both kind of came at her together. They were sitting there and it just. I mean, I reacted. So. And
I didn't. And I don't know why. I guess maybe I didn't realize they were supposed to scare me. But they came running at me, and I just watched them. And when I didn't react, they kind of hung onto the side of the cage and looked at me with one eye and then looked at me with the other eye, like, what's wrong with you? They still will strike at me every once in a while, but I don't react the way other people do. And they've liked me ever since.
That's very true. Busy little house. Dogs are loose and they don't let anything near your kids. That's great. It's good to have that. I bet that gives you a lot of peace of mind. A lot of peace of mind. Scared off a moose. Wow. That's pretty cool.
And Carrie, it's amazing how empathetic cats can be. And
Carrie, that's a wonderful
may never
story.
React to you again, or it might just suddenly start reacting to you again. You never know. Animals know negative energy all right.
Yeah, they do.
My kids were small. The house was a menagerie pretty much. Some kids that came to play got put in their place. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, Kate is fearless anyway around birds. I mean, whenever we got, when Gandhi came into our home, he had been poorly kept for years. He'll never fly because he was never allowed to fledge. And the cage that he was in was far too small for him to even extend his wings. So they're kind of, the muscles are stunted. And he can't really stretch his wings out full. But anyway, the woman that brought him down to us already had a cage for him, took him from the carrier and put him up on the cage. Well, she and I were standing on one corner. Kate was standing on the other corner. As soon as Gandy came out of there, he looked at us, and he ran across that cage and got on Kate's shoulder.
I did.
And I just
went across
about
to this side, looked under my chin at the two of them.
I just about passed out. I mean, I was imagining vet bills in the thousands of dollars for, well, plastic surgery for her, not vet bills. But, I mean, this bird had a reputation of not being handleable, and we knew that coming in.
And being a big, bad biter.
And really being a very angry bird. And he took off for Kate, got on her, and just wouldn't leave, just stayed there.
I didn't know that he was dangerous, and I didn't know that he would hurt me.
And
He just came over and got on my shoulder, and I thought, oh, that's cool.
Her aura must have been so reassuring that that's where he wanted to be. But like I said, you don't pick a bird picks you. That's
Later
big
that
ones
night-
anyway, big ones.
Later that night, I went in to check on him before we put him to bed, and he was in his own cage. He came over to the cage and reached through the cage, so I reached out to kind of gently, you stroke them on the top of their beak like that. I reached out to stroke him, and he took my finger in his beak, which is another thing that I didn't know was dangerous, but it is.
Extraordinarily dangerous.
I put my finger in his beak, and he played with it, and he touched it all up and down with his tongue, and just did a lot of things that I later found out are feeding behaviors of a bird who was mating with another bird.
Who was, kind of paired with that other bird. So,
Right.
I mean, Gandy chose Kate from the moment that he came into our home, and
really
that's
did.
the way it's going to stay. I can handle him if I have to. Number one, I usually bleed, and number two, I don't touch him, except a little bit on his beak sometimes. I can't touch. I mean, she pets him. I can't touch him. Period. That's all there is to it. He won't tolerate it.
It's not uncommon for me to be able to run my hand down his back or to touch his wing or even to touch his crop, which is right here. Most birds don't let you touch their crop at all. But I can reach out and pet on his crop and not anything else. I'm going to have to go threaten him with water again.
Cover
I have
him
a
up.
big spray bottle. If they yell too much, I hold it up and tell them, you see this? No spray. And they think I'm going to spray them, so they quit for a while anyway.
Busy little house, a cockatiel that lives 27 years. That's not uncommon, but that is more or less exceptional. Around 20, 25 years is, I believe, the expected lifespan for a well cared for cockatiel. Obviously, in the wild, they don't last that long.
Right.
But if they're cared for and given good food and vet care and things of that sort, they can live 25, 30 years.
You're right, Eli. Even dogs choose their
Yep.
people if they have the choice. No, maybe they're not going to string for it.
Kareem's over there tearing stuff up now. He's mad.
Yeah, he
He's-
wants out.
I put him in the cage and closed it, so
Yeah, I know.
he's upset. Okay, well, let's see. We've pretty much beat the birds to death. But, it's funny the pets that we choose, isn't it? I mean, there's people out there that have ferrets as pets and love them to death. There's other people that have small caged birds. Some people like big dogs. Some people like little toy
Teacup
poodles that they
poodles.
can put in a teacup and everything else in between. And a lot of them end up unofficially becoming therapy animals for us because they do affect our moods. It's been pretty much proven that people with animals who, for example, sleep on the bed with them, they sleep better. Why is that?
Hello, Brandy. It's
Who
good to
knows?
see you. Welcome.
But it lowers your heart rate, lowers your blood pressure. If they've studied, again, people like in nursing homes, and they'd take small dogs or cats or whatever in there and just let the folks handle them and have them on their lap or whatever. And their heart rate would go down and their blood pressure would go down and things of that sort. So they have a therapeutic effect on us as well, not just an emotional effect. But I'll tell you, I've lost so many pets over my lifetime. It kills me. Losing Luna was miserable. Okay. Enough of that. All cats
Glad you had a
choose
good
us.
time, Brandy.
Cats more so than almost anything else. That's for sure. Hi, Brandy Jones. Community free Thanksgiving feast. Yeah, we went our last Saturday to ours. It's a veterans thing they throw here in Cibolo. This is very much, well, San Antonio itself is called Military Town, USA, and it's a well-deserved name. But here in Cibolo, there's a lot of veterans. There's an Air Force base nearby, and a lot of vets retire here. And every year, the community group throws a Thanksgiving dinner for all veterans, active duty, and families, and so on. And they've been doing it now for 4 years, and Kate and I have gone every year. And it's a real privilege to be able to go to that. I guess is the best way to say it. So
Yes, it is.
the community free Thanksgiving feast, that sounds kind of along the same lines. That's great.
Lisa, they're called companion animals for a reason.
Yes, they are.
They do come in and fill your heart and make you less lonely.
Oh, that could be a problem, single man, if your tenant has a dog that likes you as much as they do them. Do you know people get jealous about their animals? I mean, that's amazing to me that Kate is always kind of, I think, a little nervous because as I've gotten less able to provide for the guys, Kate's taken over a lot of responsibilities with Kareem and Bravo. And Kareem, for example, oftentimes as soon as he gets out of his cage, he'll come running into the living room. He doesn't come to me. He's on the floor now. He doesn't come to me. He runs over to Kate and wants her to pick him up, and he wants to sit on the back of her chair. And oftentimes she'll go to hand him to me, and he doesn't even want to come over to me. So Kate worries that upsets me or whatever because Kareem seems to be bonding to Kate. No, as long as he's got a human companion, I'm happy. Whether it's me or Kate, it doesn't bother me one way or the other.
I also worry because Candy
critters
gets
get you out
jealous.
of bed too. Yeah, Candy's a little bit jealous about that relationship too.
Very jealous of that
And
relationship.
Bravo just kind of seems to be. He's our big gentle giant. He's kind of content to go with the flow with whoever he's with. But he's nothing much bothers him, and
That's true.
he's just a tranquil bird.
Except he likes to try and get me, nail me
Well,
at bedtime.
I think that's a pretty big bluff. But he's also my screamer. When Bravo
Yes.
gets screaming, oh man, he cannot be in the same room with that. I swear to God. Oh, it threw a little fit when the dog jumped in your lap. I heard that. That would be, that was kind of like a lover's betrayal, wasn't it? He probably was pretty ticked. That's good. I like that. Well, Bravo actually, if I had to put them, into the alpha zeta categories, Kareem is the alpha. And by association, Bravo is also kind of an alpha, but Gandhi doesn't buy into that. He thinks he's the alpha, and he will chase and intimidate Kareem especially, but actually both of them. But it cracks me up because Gandhi thinks he's in charge, and Kareem knows he's in charge. So it's a bit of a dichotomy there sometimes.
Yeah. Gandhi definitely wants to be alpha. There's no question about it. And he thinks he is. But
well, he was an only bird for a number of years before I got Bravo.
And Gandhi would love to be.
It was actually my neighbors. The other cat at their house wasn't letting her eat, and then they got a dog. Wow, that's unfortunate. And animals lovely, kind-hearted towards them. That's something I've always tried to do. I despise cruelty to animals.
How long have we been on? 53 minutes.
Not quite an hour yet. She wouldn't go home. My neighbor was angry at her.
My youngest sister had 5 ferrets at one point. She absolutely adored them.
I think they're cute as can be, but I do not understand. I mean, I can understand the fascination of them, scooting around and everything, but I understand they're really, really hard to take care of.
Well, she brought them to visit me one time. And she didn't bring a cage to put them in. She just let them go in her car. And she stayed overnight. So we put them in the bathroom to keep them from going throughout the house. When I got up the next morning, my bathroom was destroyed. They had completely clawed up the bottom of the door. They had torn things off of everywhere I had stuff set, and they were just incredibly destructive. And they smell bad. Sorry. Maybe they don't all, but hers did.
Well, a lot of people swear by, even like guinea pigs. They say that they're a lot smarter than people give them credit for. So,
I'm allergic to guinea pigs.
I'd be the last one to criticize a person's pet choice, but I don't quite get ferrets.
I didn't know I was allergic to guinea
Yeah,
pigs
no
until
cage.
someone
That's-
gave me one.
Yeah, that was kind of thoughtless, actually.
I agree.
Did she offer to make any compensation for
Oh,
the
no.
damages?
Oh, no.
Well, I've been the last time she was there in my house.
Can you see me telling Mo you can't come back to visit?
Well, not with the critters.
No, she
You
didn't
want
ever
to come
try
over,
and bring the critters back because I complained.
leave the ferrets home. Yep. No, I can't see ever having told Mona she couldn't come back. No.
Mona was my baby sister. She was 9 years younger than I
The
was.
spoiled one.
And from the time she was born, she had my mother, me, and 2 of my younger sisters. There were 4 of us to be mama to her. If one of us wouldn't do what she wanted, one of the others would. And my dad just threw up his hands in disgust and walked away and said, I'm not having any part of this anymore. You got 4 mothers, deal with them.
And I do believe Mona took advantage of that from time to time.
Yep. Let's see. Carrie says going to have to go. Internet is not brilliant out here. Screen is buzzing, so our TV. Lisa, Carrie, I'm really glad you came. Thank you for dropping by and for staying as long as you could.
Yes,
Have
good to see you.
Super day and a wonderful week. And I'll see you in email.
And I hope your internet straightens out too. What does BTDT mean? I'm not sure.
I don't know either. I'd have to look back and see what it was all
Yeah, I'd have to look
in
at
the
all
chat.
the internet acronyms to find that one. So anyway, before all this animal talk started, we were talking about customs and traditions of the holidays. I know a lot of people used to, whenever my kids were in the house, hanging outdoor lights was my thing.
On Thanksgiving?
No, Christmas.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
talking about Christmas. But lived in a little town called Papillion, which was just outside of Offutt Air Force Base where I was stationed. And it was pretty good.
Omaha, folks.
It's a pretty good sized town or a pretty good sized house. So this one year I decided I was going to hang lights all along the top and down the sides and everything. So here I am up on this roof. Now it's in the Midwest, so you have severely pitched roofs to aid the snowfall. And here I am crawling around up there on that roof, putting up Christmas lights. And Josh wanted to come up, and my son Josh wanted to come up and help me. No, I think not.
Been there, done that.
Oh, been there, done that. That's a good one. I like that. So that was it. And they stayed up until around March, I think, before I finally got them down.
The first year we moved here, I decorated the front of our house and on our porch with every light I owned and every light he owned and every light I could buy. I mean, you could have started a fire out there. They stayed up a whole year. I did not take them down.
It's been a tough week for Kate, by the way. What day was it that you fell? Was it like Tuesday? Monday or Tuesday?
It had to have been Tuesday.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, Tuesday she was carrying some stuff outside and she tripped and fell on her right side and banged up her right knee and stuff. And of course, being Super Kate, she thinks that's fine. I'm good. Well, since then, the knee has gotten progressively worse and swollen, and she's been crippled up for a few days. And I've been trying to encourage her to just kind of take it easy around the house, but it's hard to stop a 100 horsepower engine because she just gets up and goes. But, and then today, her gout kind of started kicking in again, which I hope to God doesn't get any worse. So she's had kind of a tough week. Me, I've had a pretty good week.
Thank you to everyone. I will get better. It's not the first time I've fallen. It's the first time I've fallen in a while, but not the first time I've fallen. What?
Lisa Clark's mother wanted to just put a cover over the tree so she wouldn't have to deal with it. That's great.
That's not a bad idea. I've thought something along those lines too. We don't put up trees anymore. We don't have any small children. We don't have any small children in the family. No children come to the house. And it's a lot of work. And for what? I mean, it really, if you don't have kids, it's just not worth it. And so,
would you scroll up to that post there? I'd like to see what that said. Something about talking over in North England. Okay. Taking cold to neighbors or family friends in through the front or out through the back is a local custom in the north of England, Scotland, and other regions. Okay, if you would go down. But I've heard of that, but obviously, like you said here later, that most people don't have coal fires, so now it's more candy and cakes. That's really cool. It's a good way to carry on a tradition and just kind of modify it for the times. Falls scare me too. Iron Horse. I'm pretty paranoid about that now. For somebody who used to be at least sort of graceful.
Thank you for your well wishes. I have no doubt that I'll be going back full steam by the middle of next week. So,
single man, you have no idea how much I cherish this woman. You really don't. I don't think anybody can understand that because I strongly feel that if it were not for Kate, I wouldn't be here. That's just bottom line right there. Bottom line.
And if it weren't for David, I wouldn't be the person I am. So he found me when I was at a very absolute lowest emotionally and mentally and brought me back to be a real person.
We both were. We were both basket cases when we met.
Yes, we were.
She didn't know she was a basket case because she'd been kind of
beaten down for a while.
Yeah, but me, I knew I was in a bad way, but I just wouldn't admit it. I thought I was coping. I'm doing fine. Don't get near me.
Oh, thank you, busy little house. Don't fit near you?
Well, just, don't. My attitude back then was,
yes,
nobody was going to get close to me anymore. I was done with it. Yeah, we don't decorate either, Lisa. We've got a couple of things that we put up, our little horseshoe Christmas tree and a couple of other little candles and things of that sort that just kind of have some real pleasant memories. But we don't do a tree anymore. We don't like the outside. We live, a quarter of a mile off the nearest road that goes by. So most people put up lights for other people to see. What's the point? Nobody's going to see ours anyway. But we celebrate Christmas here in our hearts. And that's the best thing I can tell you.
When I was younger and my children were at home, we belonged to a, moderate-sized church. We had an average of about 300 in church on Sunday, and a very, very charismatic, wonderful pastor. And the girls and I, every December, would begin cooking, and we would make dozens and dozens of cookies. And then we would wrap pieces of cardboard with aluminum foil and stack a group of cookies on each one, cover it with cellophane and tie a big red bow around it. Then on 2 or 3 nights on the week of Christmas, depending on how many people we went to see, we'd load up the car with cookies and we would go from house to house of our members, walk up and serenade them with at least 2 Christmas songs and give them some cookies and go away. That was our tradition, and we did it from the time my girls were old enough to walk until we all left home. It was just something we did. The church members loved it, especially the elderly. They really, some of them said it was the only visit they got. So, and my girls learned some important lessons about loving people that way.
And she does have 2 very wonderful daughters. So
thank you.
I think maybe some of that stuff worked.
Iron Firehorse hasn't been with anyone for 20 years this year.
There's nothing wrong with being alone. Not a thing.
Not a thing. I had thought I would be alone too until David gave me a phone call and asked me if there was anybody special in my life. I said, yes.
I still don't know.
A cat named Luna.
I got to tell you that there's a long story that goes along with that too. But in those intervening 14 years between when Kate and I were together in Omaha and then met up again in Tallahassee, for that entire period of time, Kate carried a picture of me dangling from her rearview mirror. I can't tell you how embarrassed I was when I saw that for the first time. 14 years, this woman had carried a torch for me, and I was so stupid to not realize it or capitalize on it and take another route that really I shouldn't have done in the first place.
My youngest
14
sister,
years. Wow.
When we came back from Florida after we were married, one of the first things that my youngest sister said to David was, I'm so glad y'all are married. Now she can get that picture off her dashboard.
I took it down. I did. I'm the one that took it off there.
And I still have it, though.
I know you still have it. I think it's in the bedroom, but
it is. It's on the dresser now.
That was beyond my comprehension. I got to admit, that just kind of floored me.
I agree, Stringfield. We were meant to be.
Yeah, donate all the try that again. Decorations 25 years ago. That's a great idea. I'm sure they're going on other trees now, and you kind of take a little comfort in that. They'll go on.
You see what single men.
Lisa's been single 25 years. I didn't spend that much time single, but I was getting to where I kind of liked it.
Then I messed it all up for you.
Yeah, right. Okay, 2 sons and daughter. Oh, coming from Ireland. And sons from Bristol.
Sounds like you're going to have quite a crowd.
That and from Saskatchewan. Well, Mark, it sounds like you've got a pretty good holiday season coming up with all those folks coming to see you. That's great.
Are they bringing food, or do you get to cook?
Yeah, my kids are pretty far spread. I've still got a daughter in Tallahassee and my son's out in Oregon. So getting together is a bit of a chore. My daughter did apparently got a new car here just recently, which I'm real proud of her for doing that. She's making her own way, and more power to her for that. And my son's in college again, even though he's in his 40s, he's gone back to school and is doing well. So I have a lot to be thankful for in terms of my kids.
One of the traditions from my daughter's growing up and my growing up that I miss now is because my mom and dad grew up in Boston, and after they were married, they moved to Texas. We didn't have, or they didn't have, family close. So Mama would make a huge, huge dinner for both Christmas and Thanksgiving. She would have all 4 of us and Daddy and any of the neighbors that didn't have anyone to celebrate with and people from the church. It was not uncommon to have 20 people around our holiday table. Now, when I had children and we were living in Austin instead of San Antonio, we didn't have that many people around us, so we did the same thing. So having 20 or 30 people for a big holiday meal is something I really miss. It was a lot of work during cooking for all those people, and it wasn't that long that they sat down at the table to enjoy it, but the love that went into making it and the love that they could feel when they ate it really meant a lot to my heart, and I miss that. I really do.
Mark, I see that you said that you lost your wife to MS 30 years ago. Might be a long-time friend, but my sympathies. MS is an awful disease. And iron fire horse, you have a different outlook on life, partner. I'll tell you that. My mother was widowed, lost my father. That's the busy little house, to a work accident right after the last child left home. Wow. So you 6 kids. Well, she's fortunate to have 6 kids. That's cool. I like that. Sometime with each of you and then sometime alone. That's good.
Busy little house. That's wonderful. It's so nice that you can do that. There are only 2 of us left of the original 4. And Mom and Dad, they still live in their own home. They still drive. They still live an independent life. And they are very much enjoying it. And I'm not sure what we're going to do when it gets to the point they can't anymore. But they truly don't want to travel on holidays. They prefer staying home. And Dad has gotten to the point where all he wants is to go out to a local restaurant and have dinner. He doesn't even want a big family around the house. But most of that's because when you have a lot of people over there, it's a big mess and it's a lot of work to clean up. So he doesn't like her doing all that work. And she is at 90 becoming more frail and a little less able to take care of those things. So I can understand it.
And busy little house, the fact that you all live far apart, so she travels, that's wonderful. That's truly great. And Lisa, I can understand the desire not to remarry and having probably especially the grandkids nearby. That's good for you. That's good for you.
Lisa, that's kind of like when you retire. You think you're going to have all this time to do all these things, but then all of a sudden you get retired and there's not enough time to do even half of what you want to do. You always got something going and you can't get to something else because that one's not finished. So I understand. I really do. You think you're going to have a lot of things or time to do the things you want, and you don't. My little house, my mother now has 14 grandchildren. My mom has 11 grandchildren and 5 great-grandchildren right now.
Yeah, that's a good saying. It'll never hurt any less, but I pray it hurts less often. God bless.
Mark, we will pray for you too.
Good words. Good words.
Your day will come, Lisa. It took a long time for me to be able to retire too. As a matter of fact, I ended up working almost 10 years while I was disabled, but the time came.
Well, I got to say retirement agrees with me, or I agree with retirement, one of the two. The last day that I had on the job, I don't regret walking away from it one little bit. It's an interesting story, actually.
Actually, I wanted to work until I was 70. And AT&T in their infinite wisdom decided that because I was so ill and had so many medical issues for so long, that it was time I retired. So they bought my retirement for me. I was able to pay off the house I was in and take care of a bunch of things. And they also provided medical care for a year, which finished out my cancer treatments. I couldn't say no to that. It was too good a deal.
And you still get a little bit of a pension from them too.
I do get my pension, yes, but that's money that I put in all the time I work for them.
Yeah, well, they do a little bit of it, yeah. Ooh, a Michelin star. Did you make it?
What is it?
Mark Donnie McLeod said he put himself into his work trying to work toward a Michelin star, which highly prized. Boy, I'll tell you that.
What is that?
It's for restaurants and for chefs and things like that. It's like, if you hear of a restaurant that's got like 3 or 4 stars, well, you can figure it's going to be $100 a plate for just it's
a big thing.
It's
sorry, I didn't know about
hot cuisine, hot cuisine. Anyway, it's an important thing in the world of food.
Michelin star. I'll have to look that up and read about it.
Yeah, they give them for like, you hear like a 5-star hotel. Mm-hmm. Well, those are like Michelin stars.
Okay.
Wish my father had retired. He always said, I'll go with boots on. He did, but I've just always said I'm going out of here boots first. That's where I live.
Mark got a rosette.
Oh, okay. Well, cool. Let's see if I don't know. Is a rosette added after a star, kind of like another award, but I'm not sure I follow that one. I don't know what the rosette is for. Or maybe it's half a star. I don't know.
Iron Fire Horse. Think about it. It's amazing that kind of change makes in your life. Things you don't really even associate with it until years down the road.
Huh. Yeah.
Well, guys.
Single man about God granting us one love. I think you're right. I do. I think you're right. Everybody somewhere, if they manage to find them, have that perfect match. Those fingers that just lock together, Okay. Oh, it's the lesser award that still counts. Goes to the kitchen while I'm there. Okay, so you basically earned it personally then, right? So it was your cuisine that won the award. I'll tell you, anything from Michelin, in my opinion, is pretty good. So you done good. Self-employed for 35 years. Yeah, that would definitely affect your Social Security, wouldn't it, Lisa?
Busy little house. Happy belated Thanksgiving to you, and thank you for your well wishes.
Well,
by the way, you say God only grants us one true love? When I met him, I knew right then and there that he was the one for me. I just knew it. There was no question in my mind. And when we separated for me to come back to Texas, I told him I'd wait as long as it had to be, even if it was 10 years or more, and I did.
Yeah, Mark, you're going to take that with you, that rosette, aren't you? They'll have to get a new one when he retires next year.
Oh.
Good luck, boys. Yeah. Okay. Are we going to go for 2 today, or
I
are you
was
ready
just
to
getting
quit?
ready to ask them if they wanted to. I mean, we've been on for
About an hour, a little
forget where
over.
to sit. There were an hour and 15 minutes. Do we want to go a little further? We can go up to 2 hours if you guys want to hang out. I'm willing to hang out.
I can't help but think these people got lives, but I so greatly appreciate that they
We don't have lives too?
do. We?
We do.
You do. I
You do too.
But it's by the way, just in case you're wondering,
Eli says, please stay.
it's terribly, terribly gratifying that you folks do set aside time on your Sundays to come and sit here with us. I mean, yes, come and go. Make coffee, or have to leave and maybe come back. But the fact that you even show up and share with us, and somehow or other, whatever it is that we've got to say, I think mainly Kate, keeps coming back. And I'm just extremely grateful for that. And it's very gratifying, and it's
busy little
kind of
house.
humbling too. So
Your toddler's more important. Go take care of the baby. Family is always more important than being online. Although, in defense of being online, you guys are my family too. Just you have to be more involved with the immediate in the room family. And I understand about babies needing attention.
thank you, Lisa Clark. That's I've come to feel that way too. This is new for me. Kate was on for a couple 3 months before going live, before I decided to plant my butt here.
And I had been with online in a live show with
For almost 2
Blake
years.
Kirby for over 3 years.
Yeah. So, but thank you. I'm coming to find that we are hanging out with good friends.
Oh, I'm so glad to see
Oh, well,
it.
great.
Eli.
That's
Thank
good.
you.
Glad to hear that too.
And happy belated Thanksgiving to you, Iron Fire Horse.
You
I
guys
appreciate
celebrated the week before, right? Doesn't Canada celebrate it a
Last
week
week,
before?
I think
Yeah,
it was.
last week.
First week in November sometime, I believe.
Uh-oh.
Well, I
43
tried to get my
degrees
garlic
today.
planted. Yeah, you better go get it planted quickly. Then check when you come back in, check if we're still here, drop back in again. That's the beauty of this one, is it's a come and go thing. If you need to go, go. If you can come back, come back. We'll hang for the time that we said we would. And I love seeing you guys come and go. I mean, not that I want you to go, but I like seeing you come back. It's good to hang. I would only be reading recipes or writing them. Huh? I'm starting to do a little of that, Mark.
Mark, of the things that you create, what's your favorite? Which one do you like to make for people the most?
Okay, it's in October.
Oh, okay.
Early October.
Early October. Okay.
I thought it was early November. Sorry.
Canadians always got to do things differently anyway.
My connection is unstable.